morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Samuel Senyonjo. It's a pleasure to have you this morning. Today I'm introducing something new, and it is called the law of contract. Today we discuss what is the law of contract, what are the elements of law of contract, elements of contract. Welcome, a friend. What is contract law? What is it all about? This Know the Law program. Last time when you went to the hostel, maybe if you are a student, last time when you grabbed the border, when you them, that was a contract. The other time when you went to hostel, it was law of contract. Restaurant, they delivered, you gave them money, that is a contract. When you grab a taxi from say Kampala to Mukono, you give them money, that is a contract. When you hire someone to do for you a certain job, whether slashing or that's a contract. So I'm going to talk about what is law of contract. That is number one. Number two, I'm going to give the elements of and number allows, I'm going to give the types of contract. So it's very interesting. You boarded, when you went to where you are now, say Europe, say those Arabic countries, law of contract from day one. If you went through a company, you made a contract with a company. Says that is a contract. On your current job, so law of contract is everywhere. Every day we do have contracts. Every day we make contracts. That Uber guy, that is contract. You are making a contract with them. And if they breach the same, of a contract. So you're going to understand what is law of contract. Last time I was talking about the Acts of Parliament. In Uganda we are having an Act of Parliament pertaining to that. It is called the Contracts Act 2010. And I'm going to get the definition from this one. It is Contracts Act of 2010. I'm going to get the definition of what is a contract, because as I told you, we have best laws, I think, in the whole world, though they do not work. So I'm going to define what is contract, or an agreement that amounts to contract according to Contracts Act Cap 2010 and Section 10. If you have your phone, you can download the law of contract. You put Contracts Act 2010 Uganda PDF. You can access the same. So when you access the same, you are going to turn to Section 10 of the Contracts Act, and it reads, made with a free consent of parties with the capacity to contract for a lawful consideration and with a lawful object, with the intention to be legally bound. Okay, from the definition, I'm going to get the elements of a valid contract from our definition, and I'm going to give you 7 of them, the elements of a valid contract. Number one, parties. In order for there to be a contract, there must be parties. The contract is an agreement between parties. But now, what are the elements of a valid contract? Number one, there must be parties. We cannot have a contract where there are no parties. So in order for there to be a valid contract, there must be party A and party B. Party A is selling this, I'm offering to buy it. Party A is offering me this, I'm offering to buy the same. So there must be parties. Party A and party B. Number two, there must be an offer. There will never be any contract if there is no offer. What is an offer? An offer is that something I'm offering you to buy, maybe buying, something I'm offering you to do for me, something, the service I'm offering you to do for me, the thing I want you to buy from me, or the thing you want to buy from me. So that is called an offer. We shall be talking about offer coming week, and we shall exhaust it. What is an offer? Elements of a valid offer, communication, and all that pertaining offer. But for now, in order for a contract to be there, there must be an offer. Like, for example, a passenger, you have a taxi. So I'm saying, I want you to take me somewhere. That is the offer. I've offered you. You either accept or not. So I'm saying, could you please take me here? I'm giving you 1,000. That is an offer. And then you say, yes, I can take you. So there we have a contract. So if I don't pay you the 1,000, that means I've breached the contract. So those are two elements. One, we are having the parties, me and the other taxi guy, or the conductor. And then number two, yes, the offer. I want to move from a certain destination to this destination. So that is an offer. And number three, intention to create legal relations. There must be an intention to create legal relations. Legal relations between these two persons. Oh, one thing I didn't mention, in law we have two persons. We have one, the artificial person, that is an NGO, a parastatal, and all that. And then we have this natural person, me and you. So in law we have two persons. So if I talk of a person, get to know that I'm meaning either a legal person or I'm meaning an artificial person. So we have two persons in law, either legal or this natural person. So intention to create legal relations. There must be legal relations between me and you. So if anything, that means it is going to bind you legally. Like, you had to build me, yet I gave you the constellation, that is the money. I gave you money, but you never did it. So what do? It must be binding on you legally. I can take you to courts of law. So element number three, create legal relations. And another number, free will or consent. Free will or consent. I must not coerce you into doing something. I must not unduly influence you. It must be free. Yes, it must be free. You cannot coerce me that enter that taxi. No. So, of free will. Another thing that is next to that, it is called consensus ad idem. There must be meeting of mind. We call it in Latin consensus ad idem. Mind. My mind, there must be meeting of, we must be in agreement. I should understand you, you should understand my side. If, say, I offered to sell you a car, 10 million shillings, we must meet in the mind. We must agree. We must amicably agree in the mind about the offer you are offering. If we do not agree, or, for example, if I wanted a Prado and you are offering me a TX, no, that's also a product, a Range Rover, I want a Prado, you are offering a Range Rover. So there is no meeting of mind. I want 10 million shillings, you are offering me 5 million shillings. There is no meeting of mind. There must be meeting of mind. I should understand you, you should understand me. That is another element. Another relation in law. You suffer, I gain. So it's a detriment to you, then I gain. On my side, I do gain. It is called a consideration. So there must be consideration. If there is no consideration, then that is not our contract. Another thing, the subject matter must be lawful. The subject matter of the contract must be lawful. We are going to discuss the legality, but if I may explain this, if we enter into a contract of selling marijuana, you're going to sell marijuana to me, that contract, the subject matter is not lawful. If we entered a contract of, say, prostitution, you are going to offer me sex, I give you money, the subject matter is not lawful, so it cannot be a contract. It cannot be binding to either party. So subject matter of the subject matter of the contract must be lawful. If it is not lawful, then it is not contract at all. And then legal capacity to contract element. There must be legal capacity to contract. Sorry, my network has bounced, but we are back. I've been talking about the legal capacity to enter into a contract. Right. Thank you very much. I've been talking about the legal capacity to enter into a contract. So, if you are a minor, you cannot enter into a contract, certain contracts. If you are a minor, you cannot enter into certain contracts. Get that? Certain contracts. A minor can only enter into contracts for essentials. For essentials. For necessities. Like food, like health, clothes. Yes. But certain contracts, they cannot enter. Why? They don't have the mental capacity to enter into the contracts. So the last element of a valid contract is to contract. If someone is young, they cannot enter into a contract. If they are insane, they cannot enter into a contract. If they are intoxicated, they cannot enter into a contract. So there must be that capacity to contract. So if you are summarizing, you want to know about law of contract, you may put this down. Elements of a contract. Number 1, there must be parties. Number 2, offer. Number 3, consideration. Number 4, capacity to contract. Number 5, consensus ad idem, or meeting of mind. Number 6, it legally bound. You must be, the contract must be legally bound to both of you. To be legally bound. And free will. Someone must not coerce you to enter into a contract or unduly influence you to enter into a contract. So those are the elements of a valid contract. Section 10 of the Contracts Act. You're going to read Section 10 of the Contracts Act. And now I want to discuss the types of contracts. Contract law, or the types of contract, can be categorized into 3. Number 1, on basis of validity. Number 2, on basis of formation. And then number 3, on basis of performance. On basis, I'm doing the types of contracts, and it is categorized into 3. 1, on basis of validity. 2, on basis of formation. 3, on basis of performance. Let's go back to the first category. In the first category, on the basis of validity, you are going to put valid contracts. 2, void contracts. 3, voidable contracts. 4, illegal contracts. And number 5, and enforceable contracts. Well, let's go back. On basis of validity, you are going to put of types of contracts, but on the basis of validity, you're going to put contracts, 2 void contracts, 3 voidable contracts, 4 illegal contracts, and number 5 unenforceable contracts. That is category number 1. Category number 2 of formation, you are going to put express contracts, 2 implied contracts, and 3 you are going to put contingent contracts. That is category number 2. If I may repeat myself, on the second category of formation, we call it category of formation or category of construction, you are going to put express contracts, 2 implied contracts, and number 3 you are going to put contingent contracts. On the last category of performance, you are going to put executed contracts, 2 executory contracts, 3 unilateral contracts, and number 4 bilateral contracts. If I may repeat myself, on the side of performance, you are going to put number 1 executed contracts, executory contracts, 3 you are going to put bilateral contracts, and I'm going to explain each of them and we shall call it a day. Number 1, I'm going to begin with validity. Valid contracts. So what is a valid contract? A valid contract, this is the contract that is enforceable by the law. Valid contract, it can be enforced and it is binding on both parties. Or both parties, yes, it is binding on them. The courts of law can enforce them. The elements we've seen are present in that contract. It is valid. So if you breach it, that means you breached the contract and you are liable in law. If you offered to take me, you did not take me, then you breached the contract. If I offered you, I want you to take me, but you didn't take me, then you are liable. You've breached the contract. That is a valid contract. Then void contract is the opposite of a valid contract. It is not enforceable by the law and it is not binding on parties. It is void ab initio. We call it void ab initio, from in Latin. We call it void ab initio. Ab initio is from, so it is void. Let me give you an example. I came to you, maize. Yes, we made a contract, we agreed, I'm going to give you 10 million shillings, and yes, you have the maize. We finished the contract. Unknown to both of us, the maize factory catches fire. It catches fire. It is unknown to you, it is unknown to me. So that contract is void. Why? Because the subject matter does not exist. But remember, we said we must have the subject matter, the offer present. But it is unknown to you, it is unknown to me. It has caught fire. The factory has caught fire. What do? That void ab initio. It is void from the beginning. It does not exist. It cannot be enforced in law. And then I'm going to explain voidable. Voidable, it is valid at the option of the innocent party. What is voidable contract? It is a type under valid. It is valid at the option of the person who is innocent. Let me give you an example. We have what we call coercion in law. We have what we call undue influence in law. We have what we call misrepresentation in law of contract. We have fraud in law. Coercion, I force you to enter into a contract. But remember, we said in the elements of contract, it must be out of free will. But you've coerced me. If you don't buy this, I'm going to do this. So you coerce me to enter into a contract. If you don't give me a contract, then just know you're going to lose the job. So it is valid at the of me, the person you've coerced. Right. Hey. Those calling on our phone, please, you're disorganizing our network. Help us. Okay, so it is valid at the option of the person who has been coerced. We have what we call undue influence. Undue influence is the rank, one with higher rank, influencing the person with a lower rank. Like, for example, you are a parent and you are influencing your child. You are influencing your child to do a certain thing. If it is a contract, the child may opt to go on with the contract or not to go on with the contract. So it is called undue influence. You know, fraud. Something gotten out of fraud. A lie, a total lie. A fraudulent act. So that contract is voidable. It can be voided. I can avoid it. Me, the person you've lied to, I can avoid the contract. And then number last, I talked about misrepresentation. I misrepresent myself as Pastor Mkuye Gerald. So I misrepresent myself as Pastor Gerald Mkuye, and then I take something out of you. Or I give you a contract, but you would have given to Pastor Mkuye. Why? Maybe you know him, maybe he's your friend, but I've misrepresented myself as Pastor Mkuye. So that is called a misrepresentation. Or I give you something, I tell you, this is Gucci. This is original Gucci. Here it is duplicate. That is a misrepresentation. So, me, the one you've misrepresented it to, I can opt out of that contract. It is called a voidable contract. We have what we call illegal contracts. What are illegal contracts? Illegal contracts, these are barred by the law. They are not allowed by the law. They are called illegal contracts. Like the example I gave. If we entered a contract with a prostitute to sell me sex, if I do not give the prostitute money, they cannot go anywhere. They can't go to courts of law. Why? The transaction was illegal. If I contracted with you to sell me marijuana or cocaine or Cuba, that contract is not enforceable. Why? The thing is illegal. The subject matter is illegal. The courts of law cannot enforce that. And you yourself, you can't go to courts of law because you are going to be implicating yourself. That is called an illegal contract. Another contract is called an unenforceable contract. What is an unenforceable contract? That is a contract that cannot be enforced due to frustration. We entered into a contract before COVID to supply you something. But again, here comes COVID. I can no longer move from one place to another. Say, from Kenya to Uganda, I can no longer move. So that contract is not enforceable. Why? I'm locked up. I cannot move. Frustration has happened. You can think of those other examples, like the COVID. I was supposed to be at Parliament in June. I was offered a placement there at Parliament, in the office of the clerk to Parliament. But now, I cannot perform. Yes, they offer, but I cannot perform. Why? Because of COVID. So, the contract is unenforceable because of contract. So that is called unenforceable contract. Due to acts of God, intervening factors, frustration, the contract has been frustrated. We cannot perform it. That is number one basis of validity. Let me go to category number 2, it was on basis of construction of formation, express contracts, or implied contracts, or a contingent contract. Let me begin with express contracts. It can be a type of contract, express, when it is written down, we put it down, we posit it down, then it can be a contract. When you posit it down, express is something put down. We put the conditions, we put this and this and this. You are going to do this and this and this, and we put it on the paper. It is called an express contract. It is written down. We put the conditions therein. We put the warranties therein in the contract. It is posted down. The opposite of express is implied contract. Like implied, it is implied, it is not written, but from the customs of the contract, something is known. You know what you are supposed to do. For example, if I told you I want to buy a car, and you brought me scrap of a car, a dilapidated car. If you bought me a dilapidated car, scrap, then even if the contract is not express, but it is known, if I want a car, it must have tires, it must have the engine, the board, and all that. So if you brought me something that is dilapidated, something that is scrap, then you breach the contract, even if it is not written anywhere, but you breached it. Why? I wanted a car, even if it is not expressed. So implied, the contract can be expressed, can be written down, or not. Actually, most of the contracts we have here, they are not written. Even the current job, some of the persons do work at, currently, they don't have that later. They don't have that description later. No, they don't have. But it is a contract. It is recognized by the law. It can be expressed or implied. Many contracts you enter in are not written. Like the other week when you went to a restaurant to buy yourself something, it was not written anywhere, but it is a contract. If they never offered what you told them, then it will be breach of contract. Number last, on formation, we have contingent contracts. Contingent, what is something contingent? That, for example, we enter into a contract, you have a plantation, maize plantation. That maize plantation, we enter into a contract that I'm going to buy it at the time of harvest, when it is ready. Unfortunately, the maize, maybe it was still very young, and maybe rain or anything happens to that maize, and it does not come out. It is called a contingent contract. It is going to depend at the harvest. It is going to depend at the climate, at the weather. If something happens, if maybe fire broke out in that plantation of maize, then the contract cannot be performed. It is going to depend on something. I'm going to marry you as long as this one happens. I'm going to marry you as if I get done with law school. But then I don't get done with law school. I'm going to marry you if I get back to Uganda. I die there. So, it is a contingent contract. It depends on certain conditions. If the conditions have not been satisfied, that means the contract is not going to happen. So it is called a contingent contract. I'm done with that. Let me go in the last category. The last category is on basis of performance, and we have executed, we have executory, we have unilateral, we have bilateral. Let me begin with executed. Executed contract is a type of contract that has been satisfactorily completed. We entered into a contract and you've executed it. You're done doing it. It is being executed by you. It is called an executed contract. It is over. You've given me my consideration. I've given you what I've offered. is done, it is executed. We have what we call executory contract. Executory contract, it is done halfway. It is not complete. Some to do you've not done, but they may not be so major so that the contract is abrogated. No, they may not be so major. So executory, you've performed certain activity, but it is incomplete. Some things are not done. That is called executory. We have what we call bilateral. Bilateral contract, it is a promise to a promise. I promise you, I tell you, I'm going to give you 10,000 if you wash my car. I've given you promise. So you also promise that I'm going to wash your car. So if you promise to wash my car, that is called a bilateral contract. I give you a promise, you give me a promise. So if you do the promise, I'm going to give you the consideration. So it is between both parties do offer what we call a promise. I give you a promise, you give me a promise. Now, unilateral is the opposite of bilateral. I give you a promise, you do an action. You don't need to promise me back. You just need to do the action. If you don't do the action, no one is in breach. It is promise versus action. Here, promise versus promise. So if I gave you a promise and you do not do the action, then it is okay. It is not that you breached the contract. It is fine. Hope it is clear. So those are the types of contract. We have contract on basis of validity. We have contract on basis of construction or performance. Construction or formation. And lastly, we have contract on basis of performance. And now, next time, we shall begin on what we call formation of a contract. How do you form a contract? How do you come up with a contract? We are going to talk about the offer and the acceptance of the offer. If you offered me to do something and I do not accept the same, I do not accept the offer, then we do not have a contract. So we are going to, on Monday, we shall be talking about, if you have any question, you may forward the question. On Monday, we shall be talking about the offer, where we shall exhaustively talk about it, offer, acceptance of the offer. We shall thereafter talk about the consideration, what amounts to consideration, what amounts to communication. We shall talk about many things in depth. And I think on Monday I'll be introducing you on something to do with cases, because on offer we shall have at least to talk about a certain case, and this is the homework. Go and look on the case of Khalil versus Khalil. Just put in Khalil versus Smoke Ball Company. Khalil is CARLIL versus Smoke Ball Company. Smoking. Then ball, B, of course, BALL, company. It is 1893 case. That is the homework. And another case, you just put in, these are cases, you just put in Khalil versus V. You just put V versus Smoke Ball Company. A case of 1893. They are going to bring that case. Read the facts. On Monday, we shall be discussing offer. Because we have offer, we have an invitation to treat. So, that case is going to help us differentiate between the two, an offer and invitation to treat. What is an invitation to treat? Like you go in a supermarket, they have displayed the good therein. Is that an offer? If the displayed goods in a supermarket, is that an offer? No, it is not an offer. It is an invitation to treat. I'm inviting you so that you can make an offer. So on Monday we shall be discussing that. Go, put in Mr. Google that case. I'll be grateful. Yeah, that is it. Atavala Khalil versus Smoke Ball Company. It is a case of 1893. I'm going to introduce you to what we call cases. As I told you, cases, they are persons. You've not done what you are supposed to do, so they take you to court. That is what we call a case. Another case you're going to look at, we shall look at on Monday. Go and look at the case of Fitch. Fitch versus Sinadaka. Fitch is F-I-T-C-H versus S-N-A-D-A-K-A-R. Thank you very much for watching, Mr. Engineer. Thank you very much for watching. Have a blessed day.